When a rowdy biker gang roars into a desolate gas station, they spot two men in plain clothes refueling their rugged SUV. Mistaking them for average road trippers, the gang decides to assert dominance. Little do they know, these two are elite army soldiers on leave, skilled in hand-to-hand combat and tactical warfare. What starts as a taunt escalates into an electrifying showdown that tests nerves, discipline, and survival instincts on both sides. The gas station was eerily quiet for a Saturday night. Tucked along an isolated stretch of highway, its fluorescent lights buzzed faintly, casting a pale glow on the cracked asphalt below. Adam Grant and Marcus Hale, both elite Army soldiers on leave, stood by their battered SUV, refueling and stretching after a long day on the road. They were dressed casually, hoodies, jeans, and worn-out boots. To any observer, they looked like regular guys, not the highly trained warriors they truly were. "Gas is taking forever," Adam muttered, leaning against the pump. His sharp blue eyes scanned the empty station, a habit he couldn't shake even when off duty. Marcus chuckled, tossing an energy bar wrapper into the trash. "Patience, man. Not every moment's a battlefield," Marcus replied, his voice deep and steady, masking his razor-sharp instincts. As the two soldiers joked, the distant growl of motorcycle engines broke the stillness. The sound grew louder, closer, until 6 motorcycles roared into the station, their headlights cutting through the darkness like knives. The riders, clad in leather jackets adorned with skulls and flames, exuded a cocky confidence. Their leader, a burly man with a thick beard and a chain hanging from his belt, dismounted first, his boots crunching against the gravel. Adam and Marcus exchanged a glance, their unspoken bond allowing them to communicate volumes without a word. Trouble had arrived. The gang spread out, their voices loud and brash. One of them, a wiry man with tattoos snaking up his neck, spotted the soldiers by the pump and nudged his leader. "Look at these guys," he sneered. "Think they're too good to say hello?" The leader, Rocco, smirked and strode toward the soldiers, his gang following close behind. Adam and Marcus stood their ground, calmly finishing their refueling. "Hey there, boys," Rocco said, his voice dripping with mock friendliness. "Nice ride you got there. Mind if we take it for a spin?" Adam sighed, capping the gas tank. "Sorry, man, not happening." Rocco's smirk turned into a scowl. "That's so." Marcus stepped forward, his towering frame imposing even in casual attire. "We don't want any trouble, just passing through." But Rocco wasn't interested in backing down. The calm defiance of these two strangers irritated him. He stepped closer, invading Marcus's space. "You think you're tough, huh?" Rocco growled. "Bet you've never been in a real fight." Marcus's lips twitched into a slight smile, but his eyes remained cold. "Trust me, you don't want to test that theory." The gang laughed, the sound echoing across the empty station. Adam's jaw tightened, but he remained silent, observing, calculating. He could feel the tension thickening, the air charged with the promise of violence. One of the bikers, a stocky man with a scar running down his cheek, grabbed Adam's shoulder. "What's the matter, pretty boy? Cat got your tongue?" In a flash, Adam's hand shot up, grabbing the biker's wrist in an iron grip. His voice was calm. "Let go, and walk away." The biker yanked his arm back, stumbling slightly. "You're gonna regret that, punk," he spat. Rocco held up a hand, silencing his gang. His eyes narrowed as he studied Adam and Marcus. Something about them didn't sit right with him, but his pride wouldn't let him back down. "All right, tough guys," Rocco said, his voice low and menacing. "Let's see what you're made of." Marcus stepped forward, his expression unreadable. "You don't want to do this." But it was too late. The gang surrounded them, their taunts growing louder. Adam and Marcus exchanged another glance. They didn't want to fight but wouldn't back down. The first punch came from a biker, aimed squarely at Marcus. He dodged effortlessly, countering with a lightning-fast jab that sent the man sprawling. The gang hesitated, shocked by the sudden display of skill. Adam moved next, disarming another biker who had pulled a knife. His movements were a blur, a testament to his training. The knife clattered to the ground as Adam twisted the biker's arm, forcing him to his knees. "Last chance to walk away," Adam said, his voice steady. But Rocco and his gang weren't the type to back down. They charged, fists flying, weapons drawn. Adam and Marcus moved like a well-oiled machine, their teamwork honed to perfection. Every strike was calculated. The gas station became a battlefield, the soldiers fighting with precision while the bikers relied on brute force. It was clear who had the upper hand, but the gang's sheer numbers made the fight intense. As the dust settled, Rocco found himself alone, his gang scattered, groaning in pain. He stumbled back, glaring at the soldiers. "You've made a big mistake," he hissed. "You don't know who you're messing with." Adam wiped a trickle of blood from his lip and stepped closer. "Neither do you." Rocco hesitated, then turned and fled, his motorcycle roaring to life as he sped off. Adam and Marcus watched him go, their expressions unreadable. "We should get moving," Marcus said. Adam nodded, climbing into the SUV. As they drove off, the faint sound of sirens echoed in the distance. The fight was over, but they both knew this wasn't the last time danger would find them. Adam and Marcus drove in tense silence, the SUV's hum the only sound breaking the stillness of the night. Both men were on high alert, instincts sharpened by years of combat. Neither trusted Rocco's retreat. "You think he'll let it go?" Adam asked, his eyes darting to the rearview mirror for the 10th time in as many minutes. Marcus shook his head. "Guys like him? Never. That was humiliation, and humiliation doesn't sit well with bullies." Adam tightened his grip on the wheel, his jaw clenched. "I figured as much." The highway stretched ahead like an unending ribbon of asphalt, bordered on either side by dense woods. It was the kind of road where anything could happen, a perfect spot for an ambush. Marcus shifted in his seat, his sharp eyes scanning the road ahead. "Lights," Marcus said suddenly, his voice calm but edged with tension. He pointed ahead. Adam saw them too, faint, flickering taillights in the distance. As they drew closer, Adam's stomach tightened. Parked motorcycles blocked the road, their riders standing in shadow. Adam slowed the SUV to a crawl, the headlights illuminating the grim scene. "It's them," Adam muttered. Rocco and a dozen new bikers stepped forward, weapons glinting in the moonlight. Chains, bats, crowbars, they were better prepared this time. Rocco's face split into a cruel grin as he strode to the front of his gang. "Great," Adam sighed, killing the engine. He glanced at Marcus, who was already reaching under his seat for their emergency duffel bag. Inside were the tools of their trade: knives, pistols, and extra magazines. A precautionary pack Marcus had insisted on bringing. "You staying in the car?" Marcus asked, his tone dry but knowing. Adam smirked. "Not a chance." The two stepped out together, moving with practiced synchronicity. Even in casual clothes, their bearing was unmistakable, calm, deliberate, and commanding. Across the road, the bikers hesitated, their bravado faltering for a fraction of a second. "You should have stayed down," Rocco called out, his voice dripping with mock sympathy. "Now we'll finish this properly." Adam tilted his head, his expression unreadable. "You still think this is a good idea?" Marcus cracked his knuckles. "Guess we'll see." Rocco raised a hand and the bikers surged forward, weapons raised. Adam and Marcus waited until the last possible moment before springing into action. Marcus was the first to strike, stepping into the fray with the precision of a trained fighter. He disarmed a biker of his chain and used it to sweep another off his feet. Adam ducked a crowbar swing, his counterpunch sending his attacker sprawling. The clash was chaotic. Shouts echoed, metal clanged, and the thud of bodies hitting the ground punctuated the air. The bikers relied on brute force, but Adam and Marcus fought with discipline and precision. Every move was calculated, every strike devastating. Adam sidestepped a bat swing, grabbed the weapon, and countered with a kick that sent its wielder crashing into another biker. Marcus used the chain to parry and block strikes, his movements fluid and relentless. But the bikers weren't giving up easily. One managed to land a blow on Marcus's shoulder with a crowbar, forcing him to stagger. Adam saw the attack and retaliated immediately, disarming the biker with a sharp elbow to the jaw. "You good?" Adam asked, his voice steady despite the chaos. "Fine," Marcus replied, rolling his shoulder. "Just a scratch. Keep going." The bikers began to falter. Their earlier confidence gave way to hesitation as they realized they were outmatched. Adam and Marcus pressed harder, dismantling the gang's offensive. Rocco, watching his men fall one by one, seethed with rage. From the corner of Adam's eye, he saw Rocco pull a pistol from his waistband. "Gun!" Adam shouted. Marcus reacted instantly, shoving Adam aside as the gun fired. The bullet missed its mark but grazed the SUV, leaving a jagged scratch on the hood. The sound froze everyone for a moment. Adam rolled to his feet, his eyes locking onto Rocco. In one fluid motion, he closed the gap, twisting the gun from Rocco's hand and delivering a punch that sent him sprawling. The remaining bikers hesitated, their morale shattered. "You want more?" Marcus growled, his voice low and dangerous. Rocco raised his hands in surrender, his cocky demeanor replaced by fear. All right, you win." Adam stepped closer, his tone icy. "If I see you again, it won't end well." Rocco scrambled to his feet, retreating to his bike. His gang followed, their numbers dwindling as they fled into the night. Silence returned, broken only by the faint rustle of leaves and the hum of the SUV as Adam restarted it. "You think they're gone for good?" Adam asked, his hands tightening on the wheel. Marcus shrugged. "If they're smart, yeah, but just in case." He gestured to the scattered weapons. They collected the chains, bats, and crowbars, tossing them into the trunk. As they climbed back in, Adam smirked faintly. "Quiet night, huh?" Marcus chuckled, the tension easing. "Just another day off." The SUV rolled forward, leaving the scene behind. But both men knew this wasn't the last they'd see of trouble. The SUV rolled down the highway, its engine humming as Adam and Marcus sat in tense silence. The chaos at the gas station was behind them, but neither could shake the lingering tension. Adam glanced at Marcus, who rotated his injured shoulder with a grimace. "You sure you're all right?" Adam asked. "I'll live," Marcus replied, his tone clipped. "Crowbar to the shoulder isn't the worst I've taken." Adam smirked faintly, though worry lingered in his eyes. He knew Marcus well enough to recognize when he was downplaying pain. But they had no time to dwell on it. The dark woods around them pressed closer, the road stretching endlessly ahead. For a moment, Adam thought they might have left trouble behind. That hope shattered when Marcus suddenly sat upright. "We've got company," he said, his voice low. Adam checked the rearview mirror. Headlights appeared in the distance, closing in fast. More flickered into view. Motorcycles, at least 6. "You've got to be kidding me," Adam muttered. "Didn't they get enough?" "Rocco's not the type to quit," Marcus said, his tone matter-of-fact. He leaned down, unzipping the duffel bag at his feet. "They're back, and they've brought reinforcements." Adam pressed harder on the gas, the SUV surging forward. The bikers roared after them, their engines screaming like predators closing in on their prey. Marcus pulled out a pistol, checking the magazine with practiced ease. "Hope you're ready for round 2, Marcus said, his eyes narrowing. "I was born ready," Adam replied, his grip tightening on the wheel. The bikers closed the distance quickly, their headlights glaring in the mirrors. One pulled alongside the SUV, swinging a chain at Adam's window. "Hold on!" Adam shouted, swerving hard. The biker lost control, his motorcycle skidding into a ditch. Marcus leaned out the passenger window and fired a warning shot into the air. The gang hesitated, their formation faltering, but only for a moment. "They're not backing down," Marcus muttered, ducking back inside. Another biker pulled alongside the SUV, this one armed with a crowbar. He swung at the side mirror, shattering it in a spray of glass. Marcus reacted instantly, leaning out and aiming his pistol. The shot hit the motorcycle's rear tire, sending the rider tumbling onto the asphalt. "That's 2 down," Marcus said, his voice calm despite the chaos. Adam didn't respond, his focus locked on the road. The remaining bikers were tightening their formation, their headlights glaring brighter in the mirrors. One of them pulled ahead, cutting in front of the SUV and forcing Adam to brake hard. The sudden stop jolted both men, and Marcus cursed under his breath. "They're trying to box us in," Marcus said, his eyes scanning the road ahead. Adam nodded, his mind racing. "Not if I can help it." He shifted gears and floored the gas pedal, the SUV lurching forward. The biker in front swerved, narrowly avoiding being crushed under the vehicle's wheels. Adam took the opportunity to swerve again, this time sideswiping another motorcycle and sending its rider sprawling. The highway turned into a battleground, the bikers circling the SUV like wolves around a cornered animal. Marcus fired off another shot, hitting the gas tank of a nearby motorcycle. The bike exploded in a fireball, lighting up the night and scattering the remaining riders. "That'll slow them down," Marcus said, reloading his pistol. Adam gritted his teeth, the adrenaline coursing through his veins. Not enough. Ahead, the road began to narrow, the trees on either side growing closer together. Adam's heart sank as he spotted another blockade. 2 trucks parked across the highway, their headlights forming a blinding wall of light. The bikers had planned this ambush well. "They're hurting us," Marcus said, his voice grim. Adam slammed on the brakes, the SUV skidding to a halt just feet from the blockade. The bikers surrounded them almost instantly, their engines growling like an angry mob. Rocco stepped forward, a smirk on his face and a pistol in his hand. "End of the road, boys," Rocco called out, his voice dripping with smug satisfaction. "You gave us a good chase, but this is where it ends." Adam glanced at Marcus, who gave a slight nod. They both knew what needed to be done. "Ready?" Adam asked, his voice low. "Always," Marcus replied. In one swift motion, Adam threw the SUV into reverse, slamming the gas pedal to the floor. The vehicle lurched backward, smashing into the bikers behind them and scattering the formation. Marcus leaned out the window, firing at the remaining riders, his shots precise and deadly. The SUV spun around, tires screeching as Adam shifted gears and sped back down the highway. The blockade receded into the distance, but Adam knew this wasn't over. Rocco and his gang would regroup, and the next encounter would be even more dangerous. As the night stretched on, Adam and Marcus exchanged a glance, unspoken understanding passing between them. They were soldiers, trained for situations far worse than this, but even they couldn't shake the feeling that this fight was only beginning. The night stretched endlessly as Adam and Marcus sped down the highway, the hum of the SUV's engine filling the tense silence. The events of the night lingered heavily in the air, a quiet reminder of how quickly things had spiraled out of control. Adam's hands gripped the wheel tightly, his knuckles white against the dark leather. "Think they'll regroup?" Adam finally asked, breaking the quiet. Marcus rested his pistol on his lap, his sharp eyes scanning the forest-lined road ahead. "It's Rocco. He's not stopping until we stop him." Adam nodded grimly. Marcus's instincts were rarely wrong. They'd faced worse odds before, but this felt different, calculated. "You know this isn't just about bruised egos, right?" Marcus added after a pause. Adam glanced at him briefly. "What do you mean?" "This ambush. It was planned," Marcus replied, his voice cold but steady. "They're not just out for revenge. Rocco's working for someone, or with someone." Adam frowned, his mind racing. The precision of the attacks, the way they'd been boxed in earlier, it didn't feel random. "You think someone hired them?" "Could be," Marcus replied, his tone hard. "Or maybe we're in the way of something bigger." Adam clenched his jaw, the forest around them growing denser as the SUV sped down the winding road. The tall trees loomed closer, their shadows jagged under the faint moonlight. For a fleeting moment, Adam allowed himself to hope they'd left the chaos behind. That hope shattered when Marcus suddenly straightened, his posture rigid. "Up ahead," he said, pointing. Adam squinted. At first, all he saw was the dark road winding ahead. Then he spotted it, a faint glint of metal reflecting in the SUV's headlights. A spike strip stretched across the road, barely visible until it was almost too late. "Spike strip!" Adam shouted, slamming the brakes. The tires screeched as the SUV skidded to a halt just feet from the trap. Both men jumped out, weapons drawn. The forest was eerily quiet, the ticking of the cooling engine the only sound. Adam crouched beside the SUV, his eyes scanning the dense shadows. "They're here," he muttered under his breath. Marcus nodded, gripping his pistol tightly. "Stay sharp," he said, his voice barely audible. The silence shattered with the low growl of engines. Headlights pierced the darkness as motorcycles emerged from the trees, their riders forming a wide semicircle around the SUV. The roar of the bikes echoed ominously, sending vibrations through the asphalt. Rocco dismounted his bike, his cocky smirk illuminated by the glow of the headlights. He swung a crowbar lazily in one hand, his gaze locked on Adam and Marcus. "You didn't think you'd get away that easy, did you?" he called out, his voice dripping with mockery. Adam stood slowly, his stance calm despite the tension coiling in his chest. "Persistent, I'll give you that," he replied evenly. Rocco chuckled, stepping forward. "You've been a thorn in my side all night. Time to pull it out." Marcus raised his pistol, his aim steady. "You've got one chance to walk away," he said, his tone cold and unyielding. Rocco laughed, the sound harsh and grating. "You still don't get it, do you? This isn't just about you two. There's a price on your heads, and I plan to collect." Adam exchanged a glance with Marcus, the confirmation settling heavily between them. Whoever wanted them gone had gone to great lengths to make it happen. "Who's paying you?" Adam asked, his voice sharp. Rocco's smirk widened, but he didn't answer. Instead, he signaled to his gang. One of the bikers lunged forward, swinging a chain. The fight erupted instantly, chaos spilling onto the deserted road. Marcus fired a warning shot into the air, scattering some of the bikers, but others charged forward, weapons raised. Adam ducked under a crowbar swing, countering with a punch that sent his attacker sprawling. Marcus moved like a machine, his strikes precise and devastating. The two soldiers fought back to back, their years of training turning the tide in their favor. Rocco barked orders from the sidelines. "Take them down! No mercy!" The bikers pressed harder, their attacks fueled by desperation and rage. But Adam and Marcus held their ground, their movements calculated and efficient. One by one, the bikers fell, their confidence crumbling under the relentless assault. Finally, only Rocco remained. He stood near his bike, breathing heavily, his cocky demeanor replaced by frustration and fear. Adam and Marcus advanced on him, their movements deliberate and synchronized. "It's over," Marcus said, his voice like steel. Rocco's eyes darted around, searching for an escape. "You think this ends with me?" he spat. "You have no idea who you're dealing with." Adam grabbed Rocco by the collar, pulling him close. "Start talking. Who's behind this?" Rocco sneered, his defiance unwavering. Marcus stepped closer, his pistol aimed directly at Rocco's chest. "Last chance," he growled. Before Rocco could respond, the distant sound of sirens cut through the night. Red and blue lights flashed in the distance, growing brighter as they approached. "Cops?" Marcus muttered. Adam released Rocco, who stumbled back. "This isn't over," Rocco snarled before climbing onto his bike and speeding into the darkness, followed by the few bikers still able to ride. The SUV's headlights illuminated the aftermath, bikes and bodies scattered across the road. Adam and Marcus exchanged a glance, both breathing heavily. "What now?" Adam asked, breaking the silence. Marcus holstered his pistol with a sigh. "We figure out who's pulling the strings. And we end it." The sirens grew louder, the police cars finally arriving on the scene. Adam and Marcus stepped back, their minds already racing ahead to the battle still to come. The red and blue lights illuminated the dark forest as the police cruisers screeched to a halt near the SUV. Officers exited their vehicles quickly, their flashlights cutting through the night. Adam and Marcus stood near the SUV, their weapons lowered but still in hand. The tension between the soldiers and the arriving officers was palpable. "Put your weapons down," one of the officers shouted, his flashlight aimed directly at Adam. Adam glanced at Marcus, who gave a small nod. Slowly, they placed their weapons on the hood of the SUV. "We're not your problem," Adam said, his voice calm but firm. "Your real issue just sped off into the woods." The officer stepped closer, his hand hovering near his holstered gun. "Who are you? What happened here?" Before Adam could answer, another officer approached, his expression grim. "This looks like a damn war zone," he muttered, eyeing the scattered motorcycles and injured bikers groaning on the ground. Marcus stepped forward slightly. "These men ambushed us. We defended ourselves." The lead officer narrowed his eyes. "That doesn't explain why you're armed to the teeth or why there's a spike strip in the middle of the road." Adam exhaled slowly. "We're Army, Special Forces. This wasn't a random attack. It was a targeted ambush." The officer hesitated, clearly weighing his options. "Special Forces, huh? Got any proof of that?" Marcus reached into his pocket slowly, pulling out a battered military ID and handing it over. The officer examined it, his expression unreadable. After a moment, he handed it back. "All right," the officer said, his tone slightly less hostile. "But that still doesn't explain what you're doing out here." Adam crossed his arms. "We're off duty, heading back from a job. These bikers came after us for reasons we're still trying to figure out." Another officer walked over, his flashlight trained on the spike strip. "This wasn't improvised," he said. "That's professional-grade equipment." Marcus nodded. "Exactly. Whoever set this up wasn't playing around." The lead officer looked at the scene again, his suspicion shifting from Adam and Marcus to the bikers. "All right," he said finally. "We'll sort this out, but you two are coming with us for questioning." Adam exchanged a look with Marcus. "Fine," Adam said, "but you'd better move fast. Their leader, Rocco, is still out there, and he won't wait long to regroup." The officers began cuffing the injured bikers and calling for backup. Adam and Marcus were escorted to one of the cruisers, their weapons confiscated. The SUV was left behind as evidence, its hood and sides battered from the fight. As they sat in the back of the police car, Adam leaned closer to Marcus. "We can't sit in a holding cell while Rocco gets away." Marcus nodded. "Agreed, but we play along for now. Let them think we're cooperating." The cruiser began moving, the sound of the sirens fading as they sped down the highway. Adam stared out the window, his mind racing. He didn't trust the situation. The ambush had been too well coordinated, the spike strip too precise. This wasn't the work of a random gang, it was bigger. After about 20 minutes, the cruiser pulled into a small rural police station. The officers escorted Adam and Marcus inside, leading them to an interrogation room. The room was stark, with a single table and 2 chairs. A camera was mounted in the corner, its red light blinking steadily. "Wait here," the lead officer said, gesturing for them to sit. "We've got some questions." As soon as the door closed, Marcus leaned forward, his voice low. "We need to get out of here." Adam nodded. "I've got a bad feeling about this. If Rocco's got someone on the inside, we're sitting ducks." Marcus glanced at the camera. "We need a distraction." Before Adam could respond, the sound of shouting erupted from the front of the station. A loud crash followed, and the building shook slightly. "What the hell was that?" Marcus muttered. Adam stood, his muscles tensed. "Trouble." The door burst open, and one of the officers stumbled in, blood streaming down his face. "They're here," he shouted. "The bikers, they're attacking the station." Adam and Marcus exchanged a look. "They're not giving up," Adam said grimly. Marcus grabbed the officer's sidearm, checking the magazine. "Looks like we're back in the fight." The sound of gunfire echoed through the station as the bikers stormed the front entrance. Adam and Marcus moved quickly, using the chaos to their advantage. They slipped out of the interrogation room and into the main hallway, their movements fluid and precise. One of the bikers spotted them and raised his weapon, but Marcus fired first, dropping him with a single shot. Adam grabbed a rifle from a nearby weapons locker, his instincts taking over. "We need to secure the exits," Marcus said, his voice calm despite the chaos around them. Adam nodded. "And find out who's pulling their strings. This isn't just about us anymore." The two soldiers moved through the station, taking out bikers with deadly efficiency. The officers, caught off guard by the sudden attack, struggled to regain control. Adam and Marcus worked quickly, their training turning the tide of the battle. As they reached the front entrance, Adam spotted Rocco standing outside, barking orders to his men. His smirk was gone, replaced by a look of cold determination. "There he is," Adam said, his eyes narrowing. Marcus nodded. "Let's finish this." The battle outside the police station erupted into chaos as bikers flooded the area, their engines roaring like an impending storm. Rocco barked orders to his men, his voice sharp and commanding. Adam and Marcus crouched behind a squad car, taking cover as bullets shattered the windows and tore through the metal. "Rocco's got them organized," Marcus muttered, glancing around the car to assess the situation. "This isn't just about pride anymore." Adam nodded, his grip tightening on the rifle he'd taken from the station. "He's after more than us. This attack is a statement." The bikers were relentless, firing at the officers and throwing Molotov cocktails into the surrounding vehicles. Flames erupted, casting an eerie glow over the scene. The officers returned fire, but they were clearly outmatched, pinned down and disorganized. "We need to cut the head off the snake," Marcus said, his eyes locking on Rocco, who stood near a cluster of bikes, yelling into a radio. "Take him out, and they'll scatter." Adam nodded. "I'll flank him. Cover me." Before Marcus could argue, Adam was already moving, darting between vehicles with practiced precision. Marcus gritted his teeth and opened fire, drawing the bikers' attention. Several turned toward him, their bullets peppering the squad car he was using as cover. Adam moved like a ghost, weaving through the chaos until he was within striking distance of Rocco. He raised his rifle, aiming for the gang leader's chest, but before he could pull the trigger, one of Rocco's men spotted him and tackled him to the ground. The two struggled, the biker swinging wildly with a crowbar. Adam blocked the blows with his forearm, gritting his teeth as pain shot through his arm. He countered with a headbutt, dazing the biker long enough to grab his pistol and fire. The biker collapsed, and Adam rolled to his feet, his eyes locking on Rocco. Rocco turned, his smirk returning as he leveled a shotgun at Adam. "You've been a pain in my ass all night," he said, his voice dripping with malice. "Time to end this." Adam dove behind a flaming motorcycle as Rocco fired, the shotgun blast tearing through the air where he'd just been. Adam returned fire, the bullets sparking off the metal frame of the bikes. Meanwhile, Marcus was holding his ground near the squad car, picking off bikers with deadly accuracy. He noticed Adam's position and fired a few rounds in Rocco's direction, forcing the gang leader to take cover. "Adam, move now," Marcus shouted. Adam seized the opportunity, sprinting toward Rocco. The gang leader fired again, but Adam dodged, closing the distance between them. He tackled Rocco to the ground, the two men grappling for control of the shotgun. Rocco was strong, but Adam's training gave him the edge. He twisted the shotgun out of Rocco's grip and slammed the butt of the weapon into his face. Rocco cried out, blood streaming from his nose, but he didn't give up. He pulled a knife from his belt and slashed at Adam, the blade grazing his side. Adam grunted in pain but didn't relent. He grabbed Rocco's wrist, forcing the knife away, and delivered a powerful punch to his jaw. Rocco slumped to the ground, unconscious. "Rocco's down," Adam shouted, his voice carrying over the chaos. The bikers hesitated, their leader's fall breaking their momentum. Marcus took advantage of the pause, firing a warning shot into the air. "Drop your weapons," he commanded. One by one, the bikers began to surrender, throwing their guns to the ground. The officers, emboldened by the turn of events, moved in to secure the scene, handcuffing the remaining gang members. Adam leaned against a squad car, breathing heavily. Marcus joined him, his face smeared with dirt and sweat. "You all right?" Marcus asked, glancing at the blood on Adam's side. "I'll live," Adam replied, wincing as he pressed a hand to the wound. "What about Rocco?" Marcus nodded toward the unconscious gang leader, now cuffed and being dragged into a police cruiser. "He's not going anywhere." The officers began cleaning up the scene, their faces a mix of relief and exhaustion. One of them approached Adam and Marcus, his expression respectful. "You two saved our asses tonight," he said. "We owe you." Adam shook his head. "Just doing our job." Marcus smirked. "Off duty, remember?" The officer chuckled, then grew serious. "You said this wasn't random. What were they after?" Adam glanced at Marcus, then back at the officer. "That's what we need to find out. But it's bigger than us. Rocco's just the tip of the iceberg." As the dawn began to break, painting the sky with hues of orange and pink, Adam and Marcus stood together, surveying the aftermath. The fire was out, the bikers were in custody, and the police station was still standing, barely. "What's next?" Marcus asked, his tone contemplative. Adam's gaze hardened. "We track down whoever's pulling the strings, and we finish this." The two soldiers exchanged a nod, their resolve unshaken despite the night's ordeal. They knew the fight wasn't over, but they were ready for whatever came next.